Welcome back, everyone. So I wanted to do a quick video and talk about some projects that are going on here at the shop. So what I've got right here is a treat. This is a Mazda RX7 stereo, 1988 RX7. And it is the most 80s-tastic thing I've ever seen in my life. It's a beautiful radio. It's got digital tuning, full logic, auto reverse cassette. It's got an equalizer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 band equalizer. And it's here because it doesn't work at all, really. Cassette deck isn't running, and the tuner, not the tuner, but the amplifier is not putting out much of anything at all. I found a few issues with this radio. I had it on my bench yesterday, and the volume control pot is junk. It doesn't do anything. If you wiggle it just right, even after cleaning it, it makes a little bit of sound. You can hear it. It's tuning in radio stations, but you really can't hear a damn thing. So I suspect that it is completely internally destroyed. The other issue that it has is the power relay. These actually use relays, these Fujitsus, and the relay is sketchy. Sometimes it clicks over, sometimes it doesn't. So you got to turn it on and off a few times before it stays on. It's definitely a relay problem. We did a full recap of the tuner and amplifier chassis. That's the top piece right here. Full recap on that, and it didn't really make much of a difference. But there were bad caps. I tested every one that came out, and there were some that were completely gone, and there were some that were iffy, but a lot of them were actually still pretty good. So I actually had the customer obtain a parts unit, much like we did with the Toyota Corolla radio that I had done recently for a guy out in California. So that radio, I needed a parts, actually needed 2 parts units for that one. So this is going to end up being a very expensive project for this poor customer. I'm going to try to cut him some slack if I can, because parts units are quite expensive for these. We at least need to replace the volume stack. I actually got I found the power relay. I found one of those brand new. They are easy to find for this particular stereo, so we're putting in a brand new relay in this one. Now, I'm making this video to talk a little bit about custom radio work like this. This is not a model that I typically service. The 2 or 3 radios that I service on the regular are the silver stereo, the MSSS1. I am the only guy right now who works on these, and I do a lot of them. I've done maybe 50 of these so far, and I've got more in the pipeline on their way. I think there's actually one in that box right there. I do a lot of those. So when I give you a price, that's typically what it's going to be. It's going to be pretty accurate. I know exactly how they fail. I know what to look for. When it comes to the the Panasonic, these guys over here, I've got a part. Sorry for the mess. I got to get this all organized. But these guys right here, I know these like the back of my hand. I know exactly what makes them tick and why they completely fail and how to fix them. But when it comes to oddball radios like these, and I've got one for a Jaguar coming pretty soon, those are different. These radios, I actually have to charge the customer something, whether it works or not. And so I'm gonna probably do like a $100 upfront non-refundable fee for diagnostics and repairs, and that goes towards the price of the repair. So if it doesn't work after I do all my testing and replace all what I find is bad, and you don't want to move forward with a full repair job because it's going to cost more than my estimate, that's where the non-refundable deposit comes in, and then you have to pay for shipment on top of that. I'm thinking about implementing that because I don't want to wind up Because I've got maybe 3 hours in this radio so far, and that's 3 hours I'm not going to get back. So I'm working on a way to treat these customers fair and also provide a valuable service. That having been said, let's take a look at this next radio. Now, every time one of these crosses my bench, I get all excited. This is a beautiful, absolutely stunningly gorgeous Mazda Sensory sound system. This particular customer only wants Bluetooth, and I can do that. But let's take a look at this radio. I'm actually also filming this for the customer's benefit so he can see kind of where we're at. I'm going to test it. Your number is 2338. That is your unique ticket number. Every radio that comes in here gets a number. That is how I track the radio on my software. Okay, it's Excel, but software no less. What I want to do first, I won't be taking on many of these Bluetooth only because 90% of the time I find other problems and it winds up being more than the customer's looking to spend. So I'm going to try to limit those. The busier I get, and I'm getting busy, I've been actually telling customers to ship them after the end of this month because I'll be on vacation. I've got a lot of radios heading my way, and I grossly underestimated the demand for this job. The demand that the number of radios that I end up getting in here. I completely underestimated myself. It's a joke. If you've ever heard that. Anyway. Okay, let's turn this guy on and see what we get. So right off the bat, I get, okay, so we have a clock. Nice. We have lighting. We have no lighting. Okay, we have lighting. Now, this radio is one of the nicest looking that I've seen. But can you spot the defect? Can you? Oh, that's such a shame. Normally, I would say we should replace that screen because I usually have a few better ones on hand, but this is one of those situations where I don't. This one has perfect, absolutely brilliant anti-reflective coating. No chipping, no peeling, nothing. There's no fade. But we do have a little bit of internal delamination. All the bulbs are good. I would typically recommend we replace them anyway, at least the display bulbs. But that's not what the customer wants me to do, so we won't do it. I'm going to turn it on. Oops, wrong button. Okay, we have the lower screen looks good. Perfect. How's our sound output? Let's center everything here. Sounds even. Static on both sides. Nice. We got sound mute turned on. Let's turn that off. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. A little bit of sound imbalance at lower volumes. Okay, so we've got the left side is louder than the right. Why is that? Well, let me show you. So we're going to dig in. Oh, I need to do a sound test. I'm going to put a CD in here. Okay, I've done my initial checks, and here is my verdict. The radio is definitely a healthy specimen. The cassette deck is a little iffy. It flutters pretty bad. Few things can cause that. Bad belts is a good place to start. Let's check for buildup on the pinch rollers while we're over here. Yeah, I can't really. Okay. I actually started finding some of these with pinch rollers that, now replacement pinch rollers for this model are actually available. They are very expensive. You're looking at around $45 for the set, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of folks wouldn't even consider paying for that. So what I have started doing is resurfacing them. And I got to be very gentle when pulling these knobs off because they've never been off before. We don't want to crack it. Don't want to crack the knob. My fear is I'm going to crack the knob. And here's what makes this radio special. This is an original finish radio. I don't get a lot of these. And a lot of the radios that come my way, they right off the bat, they need to be completely refinished. This one is unique. Very unique. They just don't. Actually, we don't even need to take the bottom one off because we're not taking the. We're not going to do bulbs, so I don't need to take the faceplate off. What I want to do is take a look at some capacitors on our amplifier board. I'm noticing that on the cassette and tuner inputs, there is an imbalance, and that's going to affect our Bluetooth because we've got a little bit of resistance on the right side of the amplifier. So, is it fixable? Oh yes, I fix these all the time, and I'm going to reach out to the customer and I'm going to suggest we recap it. It'll work the way it is, and I'm going to give them a reasonable price. But like I said, I'm not going to take on any more of these. Just do Bluetooth, and no, we're not doing those. Because the amount of work that it takes to get the Bluetooth done, and then to find out that it's got cap issues, is just not worth my time. And it's more frustrating for the consumer. So I'm going to eliminate that entirely from my offerings. But for the ones that I already committed to, I will do what they ask because that's the right thing to do. All I can do is suggest we do some upgrades. By upgrades, I mean some additional necessary work. I should get myself an electric screw gun for this bench because it would really save me some time. I use them at work, and they're very handy. The production line ones, the one that come out, they actually hang from a tool balancer. There we go. This guy's never been apart before. So CD player works. 2, 3, 3, 8. So one of the other things I do is I mark off all the parts that come in. By the way, this was bent when it showed up. We'll straighten that out for him. 2, 3, 3, 8. I put my mark on every part that comes off the radio so that way nothing gets mixed up. Alright, that way everything stays together. So we got to pull our faceplate apart. So as for the RX7 radio, I've already reached out to the customer. He has actually bought and paid for a parts radio, and he's going to have it sent to my house. I've done this for a few customers over the year. Yeah, it's been a year. Yeah, so that works out great. So that way, you know, they're on the hook for the parts. This way, they're not paying extra for parts. They're buying their own parts, and I have no problem with that. I actually would encourage it. It saves you money because if I have to buy the radio and I have to part it out, I'm going to charge for it. And I'm not kind when it comes to that because I don't want to end up with a bunch of radios that I can't sell that I paid a lot of money for. So rather it be on the customer. Oh, actually, I don't need to pull that off because we're not taking the CD player out. This is not a typical restoration job. This is a little bit different. Okay. Alright, so let's do this. We'll take this all apart. So I've worked on more of these than any other radio because I became kind of the go-to guy for these, which is fine by me. It gives me a specialty that I can focus on, you know. The MSSS1, which is what it's known as in the Miata circles. I've talked about this radio a million times, but this is for the Special Edition 93. The beautiful black over red Roadster. With the custom special speaker guard things, the metal speaker grills, grill surrounds, whatever you want to call them. And this radio is used also as an optional upgrade for the base Miatas, like mine. And that's what got me into this in the first place. My car actually has this radio, and that's why I dedicated so much of my time. Oh, I see why. Okay, the pinch rollers are solidly frozen. I'm going to recommend a cassette deck refurb. I can probably unfreeze them, but I'll have to talk to the customer to see what they want to do. Okay. Yeah, they are frozen solid. That's okay. I can make them work again. So, as I was saying, I have actually started resurfacing the pinch rollers on some radios because buying new rollers is way too expensive. I practiced on one set of them, and it came out so well that they went into a customer's radio. And what I do is I use my stationary belt sander, or actually I'm using a disc sander, and I take the roller and I just gently put it up against the spinning sand belt or sanding disc. And what I'm doing is I'm gently abrading away the first layer of rubber. And then I also reprofile it by turning it sideways, back and forth. And what that does is it reprofiles the pinch roller to keep the tape centered on the cap stand. And it worked brilliantly. So that's what I'll be doing in future examples of this problem. Let's take a look at our board. Okay, we've got a roach cap over here. And that's it. Oh, fun fact, this is a 94 plus. Notice the missing connector here. It's a much simpler board. Has slightly fewer components. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call this customer and see what they want to do. But we need to do this. We need to, at a minimum, we're going to do the audio caps over here. The ones where the sound's going through. These I don't usually find these don't really go bad over in this section. Very rarely do I ever see bad caps in this region. They're always in this section. There's a couple of low value caps, 50 volt, 1 microfarads. I got some 1610s. I got a few different ones. But we're going to go ahead and start there. And we're also going to want to do the tuner. The tuner's got caps. We want to do those because I always find... What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a price for what I'm calling a partial recap, where we don't change them all, we just do what's necessary. And I'm going to give him a price to do the cassette deck if he wants it. So I'm going to go give him a call, and I will follow up with you guys in a second. Okay, so I spoke to our customer and he said, well, you know what? Well, I gave him 3 options. I said we can replace only the defective capacitors, which will buy you some more time. It should balance out the audio, and it's going to cost you a minimal amount. I gave him a price, which wasn't too bad. Third option, we do nothing. Just enjoy it the way it is. It works. You can hear it. It's not that bad. The volume discrepancy between left and right wasn't huge. But I did emphasize it will probably get worse before it gets any better. And third option is we can just do the full recap on this thing. We can just go ahead and replace the capacitors on your on your amplifier. This board right here. This is your audio amplifier. It also is your power source. So it distributes power throughout the radio. It's a critical component, and this is where I usually find our bad capacitors. I don't usually replace all of them in the entire chassis because it's not really necessary. But this board, the tuner board, is another spot where I find a lot of bad ones. I don't usually find bad ones anywhere else unless the radio was abused. There's really no good reason to replace stuff that isn't broken. 2.2, 50 volt 2.2. How many of those do we need? 2 of those? I thought I grabbed some. Any hoozles. Yeah, that's 2.2. So we've got to do a, we're going to do the caps on the tuner and the amplifier power board. And that should get him up and running. Now this guy, he's getting a pretty good price because I'm not doing anything else. We are doing the cassette. He wants the cassette deck fixed because I offered that too. I said, you know, while it's here, I can just go ahead and refurb your cassette deck. We'll do some new belts, do a cleaning, you know, just get the speed corrected, all that happy stuff. And he was all for it. So he came in for a very basic job. He just wanted Bluetooth, and he was adamant about that. But I said, you know, I work on a lot of these radios, and I usually find a pattern of failures, and we can just go ahead and get ahead of it. And he was okay with that. He was totally fine. He understands. I would hate to see a customer send me a radio and only to have it die 6 months later or less, in which case I'd be very upset for the customer because that's, you know, shipping is not expensive. Shipping isn't cheap. It's expensive to ship a radio. You'd be surprised how much it costs to ship one of these. And, you know, I don't want to waste anybody's time or money. Now, are these capacitors bad? Let's do a snapshot. Let's take a look and see. Now, you can only accurately judge a capacitor when it's out of circuit, which is why we have this. This is a Peak ESR70. And what I'll do, when I pull these caps out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to find out if they're truly bad. Let me just replace these two first. Let's see, what do we got? 16 volt 10s. 1610, okay. And this is actually very helpful when you're trying to diagnose a problem. And you're going to do a recap anyway. That should be your first. Caps should be the first thing you look at. Unless you see a blown out transistor. Let me tell you a story. Customer sent me a radio that had good sound in the door speakers where they sounded great. So I'm testing the radio. I did the repairs and the mods. And then I went ahead and I'm like, wait a minute. I noticed something's wrong. There's no speaker coming out of one of the headrest speakers. There's no sound, sorry. There's no sound coming out of the headrest speaker. I'm like, that isn't normal. Well, I took a good look inside the radio, and I found that there was a transistor, an amplifier chip, basically, an amplifier IC, that was completely blown to shit. There was a hole burned right through it. Now, this is one of those radios that I don't see a lot of. It was actually a Mazda MPSS. And it was blown to bits. So this is a 1610. It's got a capacitance of 9.1. So this one is actually dropping in value. Usually these are very close to their maximum rated capacity. Here's a 35 volt 4.7. Well, luckily, I actually had a parts radio. And I was able to take care of that customer's problem, no problem, no issue. I desoldered with my handy Hacko. I was able to desolder the entire chip, pull it out, put it into his radio, and he was happy as a clam. That capacitor was good. Now this is a 16 volt 10 microfarad. What do we got? Let's see. 9.2. That is probably on the bad. It's not blown, it's not trashed, but it's bad. I would replace that. This is a 2.2, 1.98. Not terrible, but not great. Here's a bigger one. This is a, should be a 10220. You can see if there's any leakage, if you see any crustiness at the base of the cap, it's leaking and it must be replaced regardless. We got good ESR, 0.81, and 196, so we are low. This one is low. There was one that was actually really bad. 50 volt. This is a 0.22. I don't think this is going to register because this one doesn't register anything below 0.37, I think. Yeah, this one comes up as open. Although I should be getting ESR, so it should measure ESR at least. So that one is probably completely blown out. This is its 0.47. What do we got here? Because I'm going to take a good 0.22 and I'm going to show you what that looks like. 0.50. This is really good. It's actually rated higher, but the ESR is high. 11.3 ohms of ESR. That's a little on the high side for what I typically see out of these components. It's much higher than it should be. Here's another one. This is a 4.7. 3.79. No, this is bad. ESR 7.6. So we were having low audio on one channel, and I suspect this thing is going to sound a lot better when we put it back together again. What do we got here? Capacitance not measured, but we got an ESR of 38 ohms. Ouch! Let me show you. I put some Nichicon golds in place of those. What was the voltage on that? 50 volt, 0.22. 0.22, yeah. All right. So let's take a look at how that compares to a Nichicon Gold, a brand new one. These are supposed to be... I just buy whatever Mazda has in the spec that I'm looking for. I don't buy audio grade. The manufacturer didn't use them, and I'm not going to use them. Okay, this one comes up as open circuit low capacitance. So it's not really giving me anything of value. So the 0.22s, again, you know, if it's below 0.3, I think, 0.37, this guy doesn't really read it. So, but I will disclose that those two capacitors were indeed leaking. Well, one of them was. This is an Elna 10100. They use a lot of Elnas in these. 84 microfarad. No good. Not even close. Yeah, that's well below spec. Here's another one. 84, so same thing. Eesh, not great. Here's a 0.47. This one's cutting it close. Okay, ESR is a little high at 9.5, but we have good capacitance. Here's another one. This one looks like it might actually have some corrosion. Maybe not. 2.2. 1.98. Okay, here's a... I don't usually see these go bad. This is a 220. Nope, 100 microfarad. 93, so that's pretty close. It's all right, it's falling, it's dropping. Here's a 1 microfarad. I see a lot of 1 microfarads go bad. Oh, this one's good. Strong. Strong like bull. Here's another one. They're usually paired up. You'll find that in one of these Pioneer boards, actually really in any stereo, you'll find a lot of paired up capacitors. One's for left, one's for right. So that's what you're going to find a lot of those. So far we found a couple that are a little iffy, but ultimately not terrible. Is it worth doing a recap? Well, given the stakes, yes. I think in this case it is worth it because it will definitely extend the life of the radio overall, especially this complete board. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on my journey in recapping the entire thing. We've got this whole section done. Now we're going to do the power section. So all the audio trimming and adjustments is all done over here. Your bass, your treble, balance. It's all over on this side of the board. Our power distribution and regulation is up here. And then we've got some additional audio output over here. Input and output comes in. Actually, input's over on this side because all the input comes in through this connector and this connector. Your audio output goes out here. And so you're going to find that most of your bad caps are really in the audio stage on this board. But sometimes I do see these go bad. So let's see how it turns out. All right, so we finished replacing all capacitors here and in here. And what's the verdict? Much better. I don't know if my camera phone, my cell phone, is picking up the improvement, but I can hear it in person. Before there was a definite imbalance from one to the other. Either the left side was weak or the right side. One of the two was weaker than the other. I just tuned in a local station. It sounded beautiful. This radio is going to last a good long time. I'm pretty confident of that. So before the night's over, I want to... actually, you know what? I'm done for the night. I was going to try to get it completed tonight, but that just isn't going to happen. So I've done quite a bit of work to this unit so far. We just have a little bit more to go, and we can then ship it. My goal was to ship this unit out this week before I go on vacation, and I think I'll be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and send him a bill, and we'll have him on his way in short order. Thank you for watching, and if you want your stereo worked on, repaired, serviced, looked at, just send me an email. Actually, no. So once again, if you are in need of a classic car audio repair service, I'm your guy. As long as it's 1980 and newer, I will not work on anything older than that. I'm not tooled up for it, and I don't stock parts for older units. But I will happily take on your 1980 or newer car stereo. Just go to my website, savemyradio.com, and fill out my online form so I have your info, and I'll reach out to you via email, usually in a fairly timely manner, and maybe we could work something out. If it's not something that I can work on, I will let you know. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching.
Is it?
So eat that orange thing.
This one?
That orange thing. Do you have any milk?
Do we have any milk? Probably not.
You might want it. It's really good. It's a new kind of pickle.
3 pepper spears, sucker punch.
You like those pepperoncini things, right?
Not bad.
No, it's not, is it? So eat more of it.
It's fine.
Eat more of it. You didn't... It's a pickle. Totally.
Why does it taste like a pepper?
It's a habanero pepper.
Oh.
Wait for it. Don't eat the... Okay. You asked for it. I'm going to get you a glass of milk prepared.
I'm fine.
You are?
Yeah, why?
Oh my God. I can't believe you ate that.
What?
Wait.
Something wrong with it?
Wait for it. Don't eat anything. Oh. You're fine, right?
I'm fine, yeah.
Yeah? What was that?
I coughed.
You coughed. This should work. When you're ready to admit it's too much for you, just drink that. Okay?
Am I supposed to do something?
No.
Oh.
It takes a minute.
Okay.
It's, you're a trooper. I see your face turning red. Ready for it? You just ate a habanero pepper.
You're gonna put this on YouTube?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I just got my eyebrows waxed. That's why I'm tearing up.
Yeah, that's right.
You're lucky I love you.
I know, huh?
Can I go back to my regularly scheduled program?
Yep.